Hi, Joe. Thank you so much for joining this podcast episode. Really appreciate it, man. How are you today?
I'm brilliant, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well and super excited to learn more about you and how to buy a house right now with the
Yeah, yeah.
mortgage. And I know a lot of people have bought a house like during the COVID time and like market been slowed down a lot and seeing the difference. So yeah, it will be interesting topic to talk about. So before that, I'd love to know more about yourself. Like, how did you come into like a property business in like getting the mortgage and brokering? How did it all started? Like, what do you used to
Yeah.
do before that?
Well, before that, well, I'll go right back to the start. Good place to start, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I left school when I was 16 and I went to work in a call center. The reason I did that is I tried to do my A levels, but the inconsistency of, you go to school for an hour, go home for a few, then go back to school. I didn't like that. It's a terrible routine for me. I'm quite a routinal person. So I went to work full time and I went to work in a call center for a company called Eon Energy. And it was like a fish out of water. All of a sudden, I was a kid going into a grown-up's world. It was like, oh no, what am I doing? And you know what? For 8 years, I did the same thing, in and out, day in, day out. And before I knew it, I woke up and I was 24, and I was like, what's happened? Like, how have I got to 24? Not really been around the world, not seen anything. I've been on a few holidays here or there, but not really done anything with my life.
Mm.
And it was quite, I felt awful, to be honest. And I remember sitting across the desk from a guy called Chris. Well, his name was Christopher, but if you called him Chris, he'd get really mad.
Right.
He was 45 and he said to me, "Why'd you moan about it here, Joe? Like, I've been here since 16 and I love it." And I could see myself in him. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to be him. I don't want to be here when I'm 45. Get me out. So that evening, I applied to join the military. I applied to join the RAF and started like, about 6 months later. It was 2012. The Olympics were on. I got accepted
Mm.
to join the military. And in the October, I started my career in the Air Force, which was such a life-changing experience.
Yeah.
I'd gone from comfort zone. I knew everyone in the call center. I knew my daily routine. And all of a sudden I was joining a totally different world, which was scary. I remember my dad dropped me off at the at the training center, and we sat in a car park because we were really early. And I looked at him, I said, "Dad, I don't know if I can do it." And he's like, "Okay, that's fine. If you can't do it, I'll take you back to Eon, and you can go back to work there if you want." I
Mm.
was like, no, you're right. That's all the motivation I needed. So I started that journey. So again, I've been around the world in the military, been some horrible places, been some amazing places. I met some wonderful people, and not so wonderful, of course. And then I was living in Cyprus, and I thought to myself, I was going through I was buying a house myself, and my mortgage advisor was really bad. And I thought, I could do this. I could do better than her, surely. So I looked into it, and funnily enough, my dad was a trainer. He trained mortgage advisors. So what he did, and he said, "Yeah, you could do this. You could do it really easy. Like, here's the qualifications you need. Go study."
Yeah.
So I did that, and then I became a mortgage advisor, and I left. I left the military. My last working day was actually January 2020.
All right. During the pandemic,
And
just before.
yes,
Yeah.
that's it. So I'd gone from the most secure job in the world to a month and a half later, I was on furlough.
Okay.
What a great decision this
Yeah.
was. So that's kind of like my
So even
brief
furloughed like
career.
when you switch to like a mortgage advisory job, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I was working. Funnily enough, the company I was working for, they dealt with a thing called second charge mortgages.
Mm.
A second charge. So you a normal residential mortgage that you'd get through a normal bank is
Yeah.
what's called a first charge, and a second charge is for mainly for people who are maybe struggling financially, and or they're looking to raise money against their property using that as kind of like the collateral. And that sort of industry was in a call center again. So
Right.
actually, when I sat there, I was like, God, I don't really like this. A month in,
Yeah, I
but
worked in a call center as well myself, and I know your pain. I worked with the Convergys selling Vodafone. line services, and I was there for 3 months. I wouldn't say it's a waste of time because it actually helped me like communicating better and being a good salesman. Like now, right now, like on my business is like now I know how to close a deal or how to start a conversation, and so yeah. But doing that day to day life, it is not
It's
something
tough.
like everyone can do. Like no, it's like 99% of the people is actually working on the job. Like no one's enjoying it. It's only them top leaders. They're just enjoying it because they're not doing any work. They just only sat there on the computer, just tracking like how much you're working and that. So yeah, I
I
totally get
completely agree.
that. Yeah,
It's bad. And do you know what? I think this might sound a bit controversial and a bit awful, and maybe someone out there might correct me, but I feel like a lot of the senior management within a call center environment have maybe got stuck there
yeah,
because the money's not horrendous, but it's also not earth shattering. And then they get stuck there and promoted and promoted. And before they know it, they're senior, hating the job probably still, but trapped because of the amount of money they're earning.
yeah, yeah. A lot of people made it like a good amount of money and they just got comfortable, right? Not everyone wants to like
Yeah.
take risk. Mostly it's not about the money. I think like most of it like they don't know what else they can do.
Yeah.
They because when Converge is gonna shut down and like where I used to be is like Middleton in Manchester, and they just all of my leaders are gone, and then I messaged them back after like a 6 months or something. Like I left, I resigned before the company got shut down. Just before they shut down, like I didn't know it's gonna shut down. I started my business, my
Yeah.
marketing agency, and that's going really well. Then I thought like I need to quit. So I just resigned, gave my 2 weeks notice, and that's it. But after like 3 months later, like I just heard like the company got busted. Like they haven't got the contract for like another 5 years. So then like messaging them like people I used to work with, like what are you guys doing? Like some of them like have gone back to working in a warehouse, them senior departments, some of them got like being a administrator like in just normal job like minimum wage. I was like,
Yeah.
that's crazy. And yeah, none of them actually said like I'm gonna do my own thing because they don't have like them kind of uh fearlessness, like I'm gonna go and do it and I'm gonna jump into it. So like you
Yeah.
showed the courage, like even furloughed and you lost your job, then how did you come up with it? Like right now like everyone gonna be freaked out, like I can't even have a stable job, let alone like I'm gonna be starting my own business. So how did you have that kind of courage and like you said I need to start doing that?
So it's thankfully during the pandemic, I was on furlough. I was getting a bit of money, and I then started driving for Iceland, and fantastic job. I loved it for a couple of reasons. First reason, there was no one on the roads, so it was just
Yeah,
so easy just to drive around. Secondly of all, I was meeting people who I was the only person they'd seen that week. So I was seeing a lot of old people who were really quite lonely. So I was that kind of person, that connection to the outside world, which was really humbling and nice. And when they asked me what I did for normal work, I told them I was a mortgage advisor, and there was a lot of people who were like, "Wow, that's really respectable." And I was like, "Oh, okay," and that kind of gave me the kick up the backside to say, "Go on, let's make a go of this. Let's do this." Because people were saying, "Oh, the housing market might not get back together, the financial market," because no one really knew what was going to happen after furlough and after COVID, did they? So I was to go and work at Hermes. It's a safe job. That's what my mom said to me, and I was like, "No, this is my career." So thankfully, I didn't take her advice, and I stuck to it, and I started working for another mortgage advisor firm. I was employed. And then as the market got back together and busy, I learned on the job, which was really good for me. And yeah, as I got to a point where I was like, so I can do this myself. I can be my own boss. And that's when I say I took the leap. I was dangling off the edge going, I should do this. I need to do this. I was like, but hold on to me because it's not a salary coming in. And my wife said, just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? She pushed me over the edge, which was thankful, to be honest. It's good. And I think sometimes people are scared to take the plunge, aren't they? It's the fear of the unknown, but the fear drives you to work harder, to work smarter, to work better. And if you've got the support of someone like me, I've got my wife supporting me emotionally, sometimes financially, depends. We've just started on this journey, but we're in it together. And I think sometimes you need that, don't you?
Yeah, you need the kind of push, like you need like a support partner, like then you can get to the next level. Like when I quit my job, like a Converges is like a 2017, and that time, like that year, we got married, and like my wife was working in a nursery. She was a nursery manager, and like she told me like wherever in there, like you go fulfill your dream. Like I'm here, like as long as like it took me like a couple of years before like I established my business. Then like ever since like she quit her job, and the good thing happens like when someone believe in you more than you believe in yourself, that gives you like
Yeah.
you can believe it. Like I can do it. I guess she can see it. She's like, you're gonna be a millionaire by age 26, and actually that happened. Like, I think not 26. Yeah, 26. I become a millionaire. My company worth $1 million. So yeah, like sometimes like some people encourages you like that. It makes it so much easier compared to like
Yeah.
if someone like a all the time negative spouse, negative friends, then it makes it really really difficult because not everyone mentally strong at the beginning. Like we are like quite young on our early late 20s, but if someone is uh that's doing the business for like a quite long time or 40, 50
Yeah.
years of then it'll be like a different, like they got more confident. But when you're starting out something as a startup, is not always like you have the confidence level is always high. So yeah, you took the leap and started the business, and you're doing it for quite a long time, couple of years now. So what is the situation right now for like a current market? If anyone is still looking to buy a house, do you think it's a good time, or like it's been a past, or is it a future?
So I'd say yes, if you are looking to buy a house, it's a good time to buy. The
Mhm.
reason I say that is because, okay, maybe October, November last year, when Liz Truss sent the country into mayhem,
Yeah.
interest rates were all over the place. It was a bit scandalous. It was a strange time, but things have settled down. Okay, you see in the media that the Bank of England base rate has increased, but the fixed rate market where the mortgage company sort of should base their fixed rates on, that market where they get the money from is very stable and has actually decreased quite considerable since that mini budget in October, November time. So actually fixed rates have come down since then. In comparison to what they were like just after COVID, those levels, we were at like 1 or 2%.
Mhm.
The chances of getting back to that are slim. And I think the interest rates are going to probably settle out around 4%. And we're not a million miles away from that now with fixed rates. So it is a very good time to buy. House prices have decreased slightly, not massively, but they have decreased. Now, what's happened is, so I saw a graph the other day, actually, they're getting more in line with pre-pandemic levels. Now, each year on year, house prices increase. Now, just after COVID, the market went crazy and the house prices jumped up massively.
Yeah.
Now it's like it's coming back down onto its natural curve and growth, which is good. It's really good. So for first time buyers, well, for anyone really, it is a good time to move.
Yeah, and a lot of like wants to do buy to let, and a lot of there are lots of new regulation and things like that putting people off in terms of like a buy to let. I know first time buyers, like obviously this is a dream, like you want to buy your own home and live in it.
Yeah.
But those people wants to invest in, is there like do you think is a good time? Because a lot of things change past 1 year, like a no new regulation, like there up to be that kind of standard for the house to be in order to live in it. And also like interest rate is really, really high. So whoever doing like a buy to let, this is like a big concern. Like people wants to take some money from their property like a monthly basis. But right now the interest rate is high. Like what well the rent they're gonna get is gonna go towards the mortgage payment. So do you think it's a good investment time right now, or like do you think like when interest rate gonna go down is a good time to buy?
As a mortgage advisor, I'd say, yeah, it's a good time, blah, blah, blah. Personally, if I had the money to invest in property, I wouldn't at the moment,
Mm.
being honest. The margins have shrunk massively, and I'd probably wait until see what happens in the future with the interest rates.
Yeah.
That's my personal thoughts on that. Interest rates have increased, and what they call the stress testing has increased as well, which again is caused by sort of the madness that happened at the back end of last year.
Yeah.
Interest rates, again, like I say, are coming down. So, and the stress testing is coming down as well. But you are right, the energy performance certificate rating needs to be at a certain level now. And which is, on one hand, it's really good because it's providing people with a better standard of living, and making sure that their energy bills are going to be a lot lower. That's for tenants. For landlords, it's going to be a lot more money potentially that they're going to have to outlay. And 10 years ago, the profit margins for investing in property was fantastic. That's why a lot of people did it. It's just not as profitable as it once was. Lots of fees now through mortgage companies, which adds to the cost, doesn't it?
Yeah, and like you need like a big chunk of like upfront money in order to like start your property journey, because before the house doesn't need to be like that kind of up level standard. You can have like a decent, you just buy it and put it on a rent. But right now, like obviously it's good, really good for like people like who wants to stay as a tenant, because they gonna lift you up to the standard. And because a lot of landlords, they not like a good standard level of landlords. A lot of people die from it.
Yeah,
They get lots of disease because the
yeah,
damps in the house, a lot of
yeah.
fire hazard, and also so on. So in a way, it's a really good way it's going. But investment wise, I wouldn't see like that kind of return. You're probably gonna get starting your business, or like starting in some kind of like a traditional stock market. You can see overall growth. Right now, I believe in like everyone different. If someone is already got 50 houses, 100 houses, that would be different ball game. But if someone is starting
That's
out
it.
like a,
It's tough.
yeah, first house, two house,
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend, unless like they want to flip the house, buy on a auction and then resell it again.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, completely agree. You got to factor in as well, if you're working full time, or if you've got your own business where you're working longer than full time hours, or the standard full time hours, and then at midnight someone rings you to tell you the boiler's broken. It's not a phone call that you really want. So then you've got to think, okay, do I want a letting agent to manage this property for me? And then you've got letting agent fees, which again adds to the cost, doesn't it? So like you said there, if you've got
yeah.
20 odd houses, you're okay. But if you've got one or two, you might be close to not actually making much money at all from it. And yeah, I know properties are
A
investments
lot
are
of people
long term, aren't
like
they?
tend to work on other lawyers as well. Like he do properly property letting solicitor stuff, and so he said like there was like a, I don't know, about 500,000 cases is pending from like a COVID, because landlord wanted to like evict their tenant because of the new regulation. Like you cannot,
Yeah.
because of the lockdown and COVID, and all are gonna go backdated, and like all of them like still catching up, and landlord not getting any of the rent like nearly 2 years now, because they're not going anywhere in the courtroom, because courtroom keep on giving like a one date and another, and because it's all of them case been pending, like they dealing with like important cases, like someone got killed, or like a divorce, or like a child needs to be in the custody, things like that. They wouldn't taking it as seriously as like, hey, you need to evict your tenant. And that's the reason is like nearly 500,000 of like landlord like struggling. They cannot do that. That was like about 6 months back. I'm not sure right now what is happening right now, but that's a lot of amount. And if you
It's
only like one or two houses and you're not getting any rent coming in, you have to pay the mortgage. It would be a half. And if you're struggling
yeah.
to pay your own one, and let alone your second one, then obviously you're getting a bankrupt. So everyone needs
Yeah.
to be calculate their own risk, how much you can tolerate. It's not always like too shiny, like you can invest in a property, you're gonna be multi-millionaire. That is fast.
I think people see stuff on social media, look on YouTube, they hear the good stuff, but they also forget that
Yeah.
there's a lot of bad that can happen. I
Yeah, a
mean,
lot
you
of
just
people
need
did
to
like
watch.
Airbnb, like
Yeah,
Airbnb letting, and then COVID hit. A lot of them got bankrupt because of that,
yeah,
because they took out lease for like 2 years, 5 years lease, and like their rooms not getting like occupied by like renters, and they couldn't pay the actual landlord, and then
yeah,
they go bankrupt and go out of business. So yeah, it depends like how much risk tolerance you have. Like I wouldn't go into them kind of businesses right now because it's too much hustle at the moment. So moving forward, like forget about like a buy to let right now is
Yeah.
first time buyers. If they want to buy right now, is a great time you mentioned. So do you think like is the process is harder compared to before, or like is it straightforward process? Like if someone wants to work with you?
It is straightforward. Now, the one thing that causes issues with buying a house is the amount of time it takes. People get lost in the transaction
Yeah.
and people get confused and overwhelmed because of how long it takes. If you're anything like me, you see something, you want it now and not in 3 months' time.
Yeah.
And that can cause some issues at times. I think the best thing to say for anyone who's looking to buy a house is be prepared. And sitting down with a mortgage advisor and working out how much money you have saved away, at what deposit you can be working with, how much money you can borrow, looking in at your income and your outgoings, figuring how your top end and figuring out how much money that looks like on a monthly basis. The reason I say that is because some people I've spoke to can borrow based on their salary, they can borrow a lot of money. But then when we tell them how much that is, potentially on a monthly basis, you
Yeah.
can see the blood drain from their face is like, oh God, that's a lot. So, okay, it might financially be within your budget, but is it within your spends budget on a monthly basis?
Mhm.
The one big thing that catches a lot of people out is their credit file,
Right.
because you could be able to afford lots of money. You might have a 10% deposit, you might have a 5% deposit, but if you have a terrible credit file, you're not getting a mortgage.
Mm.
And it's about understanding what your credit file looks like and how we can improve that if it is bad.
Yeah, that's great. So, yeah, Joey, we're coming to end of this podcast. It's been a great
Yeah.
conversation with you. So, if anyone wants to
Yeah.
learn more about like your business, or you want to work with you or get some mortgage advice, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Shamefully on TikTok as well. The handle for all of them is the Home Buyer Club. So search me on there. You'll see lots of educational videos I like to put up on there. So yeah, just reach out, send me a message.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for your time today. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
I wish you best of luck with your business, your personal life, and hope you have a wonderful day ahead.
Thank you very much. Cheers for that.
You're most welcome. Thank you. That's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. I hope you got some value from it. So, yeah, if you want to get a mortgage or need some kind of advice or guidance, reach out to Joe and is available on social media platform. So, until then, I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care.